welcome to another episode of It's a Love Thing with Lady Rhonda. Today, we're going to talk about motherhood and loss. And before we get started, I want to read a statistic that I Googled. Okay, so it says in the Commonwealth of Virginia, this was back in 2020, they haven't done anything recently. There was a total of 3,411 recorded miscarriages and countless others. Culturally, they broke it down culturally. There was 1,931 were white people, the Caucasian experience. 726 were of the black experience. And 754 were labeled other. In the United States, approximately 1 million miscarriages will happen in a year. Now I'm going to read a quote by Gary Rowe. He's the author of a book called Shattered: Surviving the Loss of a Child. And I quote, "The loss of a child strips you to the core. And there are many times you will have to remind yourself to breathe. Mm-hmm. Breathe. You can survive. You will survive." End quote. And today, I am sitting with three beautiful survivors. And now I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves.
Hey y'all, I'm Monique. I'm the mother of a 10-month-old named Jude. I go to Community Impact with these wonderful people, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, and welcome, Monique.
Hi guys, I'm Danae. I am, I guess I follow suit, mother of a little boy named Carter, and two other my little angel babies. And I am a hairstylist, and I really do love talking and doing interviews and things like this.
Well, thank you. Welcome, Danae.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shamir. I am the mother of two now. That sounds crazy for me to say. I have a 10-year-old, and she's a spitfire for sure. And then I also have a 3.5-month-old surprise baby. I am a survivor of two miscarriages, and both of my living children are rainbow babies.
Oh, and welcome, Shamir. Welcome to all of you. So we just want to get right into it, ladies. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. How do you all enjoy motherhood? Ups, downs.
Well, I guess I'll start.
Okay.
I have to say, I absolutely love motherhood. It's a beautiful journey. It's a wonderful thing, but I can't negate the challenges that come along with being a mother, the worries, the anxiety, you see the world in a different perspective from the moment you give birth until whenever. But I love being a mom. I feel like in my description of things that I am, mom, it's like wife, mom, everything else. But I love being a mom. But like I said, it just doesn't take away from the feelings of thinking about the world and am I parenting correctly, and am I doing something right? Am I doing something wrong?
Because there's no handbook.
There is no handbook. You're going as you taking it as you go. But I really, really, really enjoy motherhood. I don't think I would be myself if I wasn't a mom.
I guess I can go next. I feel like I've been a mom for a long time. In my introduction, I did not mention my two bonus children I have that are now 25 and 22. My husband got full custody of those children when we were 11 months married. So they were 8 and 11 when they came to live with us full time. So I mothered them as well, and then our two that we have together. So for me, this journey has been a long time. I've had to mother all 4 of them very differently at different spaces and different times in my life. I was a lot younger with the bonus kids. Then to work hard to get my daughter, who was the only one for me for the longest time as the older ones left the house. And now I'm a stay-at-home mom with this youngest one, and that's a big challenge for me. So motherhood's just challenging for me. I won't say I have all the roses and good feelings that everybody tends to have. I love them with every being in me, but it's a challenge. More every day is a different day, and every day is a challenge. It's rewarding, but still a challenge.
And I can kind of agree with Shamir. I've always wanted to be a mom. Ever since I was a little girl, I used to have my little baby dolls and everything like that. But I was okay with waiting, and so I didn't say this in my introduction, but I'm a teacher. I'm a preschool teacher at that. And so when I'm not with Jude, I'm still a mother at school. And so to be, a mother for 8 hours and then come home and mother Jude, I'm just like, whoa.
Right.
And so those challenges are there, the 4 a.m. feeds and then getting up and having to go to work. And you're just like, what is happening? And then it's like you're still a mom on the weekends, and then the mom guilt, and then you got all of that stuff that's going on. But God really made this, and is making it this, ugly situation so beautiful. He is. And so I'm just like, your grace and your mercy that has extended me throughout this whole journey, and the fact that you're allowing me to go through this, I'm all for it.
I love it.
I'm all for it.
I love it.
Motherhood is the bomb.
Yes, it
I
is.
remember when I was younger, I said, I want 7 sons.
Ooh, 7.
And I ended up getting
Half the amount of girls.
3 daughters. So I am a mother and I am a grandmother, and I really enjoy motherhood. I mothered them all 3 differently. I have 3 daughters, 3 different personalities, including mine. So I have to mesh all of them together. So I really enjoy being a mother, watching their journey, watching their ups and downs, being there for them and supporting them. So motherhood is a blessing, and it is challenging. Like I said, there's no handbook, so you're gonna have to kind of go with the flow. Sometimes you might have to Google some things. Sometimes because you're the doctor, you're the nurse, you're the psychiatrist, you're the teacher, you're the coach.
Yeah.
You're everything. You wear a lot of hats as a mother. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to get a little deeper because the show is about motherhood and loss. So how did you all feel when you lost the baby?
I guess I can go first. For me, I have 2 totally different situations. My first loss was before my oldest biological daughter. That loss really hurt me to the core because I wanted, after mothering my 2 bonus kids, I wanted to be a mother really bad to my own child. And we didn't even know if I could get pregnant. My husband and I tried for 4 years before we were able to get pregnant. And we got pregnant, and I lost the baby probably for it was probably about 12 weeks, so I was pretty much almost out that first trimester. And I was really upset. I did not understand the why, but people try to encourage me, and the one thing my doctor's saying is, well, we know you can get pregnant, that's half the battle. And even though that was her positive way for me, I still wasn't, that's nice, but that wasn't what I wanted to hear. So, but it was half the battle because we went through the different steps, and that was what helped us to have Brooke. So we took some things that we learned from that one, learned that I didn't make enough progesterone, learned that what we had to do for me to be able to sustain a full pregnancy with Brooke. With this last one I had, I'm 42 years old now, and getting pregnant at 41 was not the goal for me in this stage of life. My husband and I we're ready to travel the world. We're about to be married 15 years next month. We had planned a big 15-year vacation for us, and to get pregnant at this stage in life just wasn't it. And so I was very upset. I actually questioned God as to why you would get me to be pregnant. I don't want to be pregnant at this point in life. And I thought about abortion. I thought about everything I could do to not have a baby. And then my husband said to me, we can't pick and choose God's blessings. This is a blessing. Obviously, he wants you to be pregnant for a reason. So I said, you're absolutely right. I got on board and said, God, I accept this blessing. Thank you for choosing me. And then I realized 3 days later, I lost the baby. So I blame myself. The power is in the tongue. I said, you didn't want this child. You cursed the child. You said everything against the blessing that God's given you, so he took it from you. And so for that one, I blamed myself the whole time because I couldn't understand. And I said, God, I'm sorry. I said these things. Now you've taken this blessing from me. So first one, very sad. Second one, extremely sad. But there was two different sadness. One was sadness because it was something I wanted so bad and it was so tangible to me that I couldn't get. And then the second one was the fact that you were giving me something that I didn't think I wanted, but then after you took it from me, I felt like it was my fault. So that would be what my feelings on the loss on those twos. I felt two very totally different feelings on loss.
I think for myself, it's still kind of fresh for me, both of them. I felt, I don't know if I can put a word on it. I mean, of course, you feel confused and lost and all those things, but with my son, Assad, who was my second born, everything was fine. I had Carter with no problem, no issues, and then we got pregnant with Assad, and Assad was planned. It did not take long. We was like, whoop-de-wah, I'm pregnant. We know that, we're fertile, no problem there. And then Father's Day, June 20th, 2021, my husband is away playing at a ministry. I'm at home with our son. I'm feeling sick. I'm having all these pains. I'm like, is this labor? Am I having contractions? It couldn't be. I'm only 23 weeks. And spontaneous labor, water breaks in the bathroom. I'm bleeding out. I should have died. The doctors were like, listen, the amount of blood you lost from your home all the way to the hospital, there's no way that you should even be alive. And then have the child when we got to the OR, which I had no clue I was gonna deliver him. I'm thinking, y'all can patch me back together and put that thing back up in there and we can just, no, he needs to be born out. And had a heartbeat of 165 beats per, minute, second, whatever it is. He was still thriving. Yeah. And so for him to be born prematurely, to make it through the journey almost 3 months, he lived in a NICU, and then out of nowhere, we get a phone call, you guys need to come now, it's not looking good, we have to re-intubate him. What's going on? Like how? Like he was doing good, and we get there, and just to see his little body, and as they are giving him CPR, and his little body is just flailing. I mean, when that nurse called me on that phone, I said, I am his mother. You do not let him go from here until I look at him. Because I know when he's had enough. And so from where we live in Hopewell all the way to Chippenham, I did 90 the whole way praying. And when I got there and I looked at my baby, I knew that I could not force him to continue this. It was unfair. It was unkind to continue that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like in that moment I baptized him myself with no title. I baptized my baby, and I told him it was okay. And I feel like peace about that. That I made the decision, as well as his father, don't get me wrong, but he was really, in that moment, he had to step out. He had to, go away. He didn't want to stop. And I was like, listen, baby, we can't keep, you know what I'm saying, keep doing this to him. And so I felt peace about that, even though it hurt. I really felt at peace about that. And then with my second, it was a miscarriage, and Shamir White, called her on that phone so fast, something ain't right. I need you to take me to the hospital. Something's not. She dropped everything. She was on her way. I was sick, throwing up. I looked like death, literally. I was totally gone out of it. I'm thinking everything is fine. I'm gonna be all right. And Shamir finally left after a few hours. My husband showed up after he got off of work, and I was fine, getting ready to go home. We were good. I got some magnesium, everything was fine. And then, boom, out of nowhere, I'm trembling, I'm convulsing, infection apparently had taken over my body, and I had to wait almost 2 hours for an ambulance to come get me to transport me to a hospital where I was going to give birth. And by that point, I had been contracting, I was in labor, and I knew that my baby girl Asia was gonna leave me. And so shortly after that, literally gave birth to her unmedicated, alone in a room while she was literally still inside of her amniotic sac. And that one felt like torture. What did I do to deserve this? Like, I just lost my son. How can you take my daughter? This is my only girl. Come on, God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just what had I done wrong? So like Shamir, two different feelings. The first time, it kind of felt a peaceful transition, and the second time felt more of a torture. It was a punishment for something that I couldn't understand. And
So, well, Monique, I want you to share your loss about your mom. If you would mind talking about your mom.
Okay. This is hard. So I didn't find out about everything that happened until I was about 16. I knew, like, growing up, me and my brother, we were light skinned. My parents, adopted parents, were dark skinned. But I mean, that didn't matter to me, you know. But I remember I was 16. I had a project for high school, and I was looking for some family pictures and some stuff, and I looked in a Rubbermaid container and I found my birth certificate, and it said Monique beside the baby, but then beside the mom's name it was different, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't say, you know, my mom's name, it says something else. And so I only shared it with my brother. I really didn't know, you know, where to go, what to do, how to approach it, you know, to our mom. And so I just hid it for 2 years until a situation came up. I was 18, and where she really didn't have no other choice but to just come out and tell us. And so from then on, I was like, whoa, you know, I was lost. I'm just like, so I was just being lied to this whole time. And I'm like, you know, you could have told us when I was younger, maybe like 10 or 12 or something like that. And so going into my adulthood and, you know, marriage and having a baby and stuff, it just shaped absolutely everything. It was the foundation. It was the base for everything. My mind is running rapid now because I'm like, okay, my biological mom was not there. You know, I want her to be able to, you know, experience this. But then I'm just like, you know what, that's the favor from God, because I'm like, you know, that saying, you only get one mom. No, I was divinely favored to have two. That's crazy. That still blows my mind to this day. I have two, even though, yes, she's gone, she's in heaven. However, I grew in her for 9 months. We still have that connection. I see her in my dreams. I talk to her, you know, like she's in my passenger seat when I'm driving. And so it's like, that's the favor for me. And so yeah, it does, you know, shape everything. It stressed me out quite a lot, like during my pregnancy. It gave me a lot of anxiety because the way that she passed, she was there all by herself. She was one of those people who needed a little bit more help with certain things. And so when her water broke, instead of it going down, it went up and it flooded her heart. And so she went into cardiac arrest. And so, it's like she made the choice. The doctor gave her a choice and said, you can either save yourself or you can save the baby.
Wow.
My mom said, save my baby.
Wow.
And the fact that she was able to, even though she had those mental challenges, she was able to say, you know, she was able to make that decision and say, you know, I want her to have life, you know? And so she was able to call my mom. My mom, you know, Fran, I love Fran. She actually saved me, she did. She was able to, you know, call her. They were just friends, high school friends. And say, you know, this is what's happening. I need you to come up here. And then the phone just dropped.
Wow.
And she was just gone. And so they was able to, you know, take me out, have an emergency C-section and stuff like that. And I lived. And so I remember Fran telling me, it was hard for her to tell me this story. And she said, you know, they told me that you wasn't going to make it through the weekend.
Wow.
And so here I am, you know, 30 plus years later, and it's like I'm okay. But when it came to me, you know, having birth, giving birth to Jude, it was just a different story. Because at 35 weeks, you know, here I am. I'm like, I'm going into preeclampsia. They're telling me, you know, I have to have an emergency C-section. The same thing they told my mom. And so I'm just like, okay, what's happening to me? What's happening? And so, yeah, it shapes everything, the whole ball game.
So for me, you know, like I was telling you all earlier, what I had is empathy for you all because I've never experienced it. And it was, when I thought about having this podcast, I was like, okay, I'm going to be sitting asking these questions, but I do want love to exude from me. I do want empathy and sympathy to exude from me, because I didn't want to seem like I don't understand, which I don't because I've never experienced it, but I appreciate you all sitting in these chairs, sharing the most intimate, deep, dark parts of you. I really appreciate that because your story is going to help someone else. Your story is going to help someone who may have gone through it, who may be going through it, and who may go through it in the future. So I really want to just stop and say thank you because it's very, it's an awesome thing to sit here to share your story, you know, and to let others know because I'm such an empath, you know,
Okay.
I feel, you know, I do
What's the next question?
Please, please.
I do
You
feel,
are-
you know, and I
You
am
get
a
a tissue.
mother.
You get a tissue.
Right.
You get a
I
tissue.
am a mother. And there were times that, you know, I could have lost, you know,
Right.
them
Right.
in certain situations, and I would pray for them. You know, they're alive, they're living, but they have their own journeys.
Yeah.
And I constantly pray and I cover them, you know, as their mother, you know. So I'm just so excited, and I'm not sad. These are tears of joy, you know, but they're full of empathy for you all. So we're going to shift a little bit.
Yes,
you know,
let's
my lash
shift.
might be on
Thank
the
you, thank you.
my lash might be
Please.
hanging
Hanging a
off
little
in a
bit.
minute, but we're going to keep going. So when you talked about your, you all both talked about your spouses and things. So I wanted to get to the question about the husband, your partner. How did that look for him? Because a lot of times we talk about the mother, we talk about but we never really talk about the father. We never talk about how they're feeling. We never talk about what their journey looked like. If you want to share about that.
For my husband Arsenio, with Assad, this is the part that gets me choked up, because he saw so much of himself in Assad. When Carter was born, Carter still is a spitfire, more like his mom. I mean, he could be reserved and all of that too, but he looks a little bit more like me. His attitude is a little bit more outspoken like me. But Assad, even though he never came home in the NICU, he was more dark complexion like his dad. He had those dimples like his dad. He had this little attitude about him that was like his dad. He had the big hands, he had long feet. I mean, he just really showed every bit of Arsenio. And for him, it was like he was looking at himself in a reflection. And so when Assad was passing, I could see pieces of him were just shattering in that moment, and I'm standing there.
I was at the hospital, if you don't mind me interjecting.
No.
And the two of them, to watch the two of them, she was so incredibly strong, it was almost eerie, like smiling. And I'm like, what is wrong with her?
Wow.
Like, she was literally smiling, and then I look over to him, and he was literally looking at the child like, come on, son, you're about to breathe. Like, he was holding him with the expectation that he was getting to breathe. And at that point, I had to walk out. Because he literally had the heart of our Father that's like, I'm gonna breathe breath. It almost looked like he could breathe breath and life into him, and that he was gonna breathe. And at that moment, I had to walk away. I couldn't watch it. And so my husband stayed with them. And I remember then my husband looked like,
he was literally
holding his
him
back, like, okay, nephew, you're gonna breathe. And so to see that, those two fathers almost be more emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that she wasn't emotional, but she was the rib at that moment for her husband.
Right.
And it was hard to watch. I left, and then I felt like I wasn't a good friend because I couldn't support her. Like, there was nothing I could do to support her. There was nothing. I was not the supportive friend. I was the friend that was thinking about me, and I had to walk away. So, just, you know, piggybacking on what she said, her husband at that time seemed more, not that she wasn't emotional about her kid, but her husband at that time was literally like, son, you're gonna breathe.
And I think it goes back to the peace that I told you that I felt, where I said, okay, baby, mommy won't be mad at you. It's okay. I baptize you now in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and you go on to be with the Father. And that's when I told my husband to come back, because if you miss this moment, you won't be able to live with yourself. And so he came back. And I think because I felt that peace, I had that moment with him, because we went through that traumatic labor and delivery together. That was my boy. Like, if he was to come home, he was gonna be sleeping in the bed with me. And we never do that with our kids. But he would have been right there with his mom, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that I had that peace, my husband, he like she said, he was a wreck, you know? And he really, it was as if he literally was like, I'll breathe for you, come back to me. And then with the miscarriage, with Asia, that one felt for him, it didn't seem as painful as Assad, because everything we've been through with Assad, but he could see in my eyes when I was passing her that I literally, and I never told anybody this other than Shamir, it was like, I think the week before it happened, which mind you was right behind Shamir's, I said, I just don't feel connected to her, out of nowhere. I don't know what's going on. I just don't feel connected, and I couldn't explain why. And then I ended up miscarrying. And so I felt within myself when I was losing her, like I could just die. Like I literally felt like, you know what? I'm over this. Like I could just leave here. And I remember he was across the room while the doctor was working with me to get everything, you know, passed. And he looked at me and he was like, nope. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, you're not doing that. How do you know what I'm thinking in my head from across the room? And he came over to me and he grabbed my hand and he was like, we're not doing this. Another one of these, we can work on another baby, but you're not about to leave here like this. And that time he was the backbone. He had my back because I was over it. I felt like death and I could have went right along with it.
Well, on that note, I had a question about grief and counseling. Have you all considered, have you all gone through it? How do you feel about therapy and grief therapy? You for it, against it? You feel like, you know, your faith can bring you to where you need to be?
I absolutely believe in therapy and
in faith and prayer.
Yes, you know, I think after that is when I decided I was going to go to school, because I felt like I could be a hope counselor. I wanted to be the person that could give you that the good Lord can save, heal, deliver, and bring you through. But the textbook says our minds need this, and that. This is what we're gonna go. This is how it's gonna help you. Especially because I had postpartum really bad. My first one for sure. This one I was more mindful. But no, I totally believe counseling. We were in marriage counseling at the time I lost the first one. So our marriage counselor was able to kind of navigate us through that first one. The second one, I agreed, but it wasn't that same way. And I didn't really have a lot of time. I got pregnant pretty quickly with the next one.
Yeah.
And my husband wouldn't allow me to grieve. Not so much he wouldn't allow me to grieve. That's the wrong choice of words. He wanted us to focus on this next blessing that God. We're not going to take the what ifs, what couldas, what not. We're gonna believe God for this slate He's given us now. We're gonna take this blessing. We're gonna run with the blessing. We're gonna speak nothing but good, and all will be well. So that, and then I'm in a lot of groups. I believe in being in groups. Some groups I've had to remove myself from because some can seem too dark and they'll take me to a very emotional place. I'm part of a lot of moms groups on Facebook, the infant and loss. Monique and I are part of a postpartum group that talks about loss sometimes because quite a few of the women have lost in this postpartum group. So I believe in, any education. I had a doula that helped me really well on making sure that some of those negative thoughts I wasn't taken into this pregnancy or the last one I had. So absolutely, yes.
So in the beginning, I didn't mention this is a different location for me for my podcast. I'm normally in a room, in a media room, and I chose a sanctuary because this is where you exercise your faith. Yes, you exercise it at home, but when you come together with other believers, you exercise your faith. There's an altar where you can lay your burdens, your fears, your grief, your concerns, your anxiousness, your doubts. So I chose a sanctuary, so we could sit and talk about faith, what it looks like, how you work your faith. Now, on that note, when it happened, did you blame God or do you still blame Him?
I never blamed God. I'm gonna be very honest. I never blamed God. I did question God. Like, why would you allow this? Especially on this last one, I didn't understand why He wanted me to be pregnant. I had a big issue with me being pregnant in my 40s. I could not understand why you want me to be pregnant in my 40s, why you allowed me to finally get on board and then you take it from me. So I didn't blame Him. I know He does everything right. He does it in His way. But I wanted to know, and I still ask God, even with my live birth, what is it that you want me to get from this? Because for my daughter, it felt like I asked for that mountain to be climbed. I asked for that. That was a child I wanted so bad. I wanted her in every way possible. I joked with her that I didn't finish paying her off until she was 5 because I had to have fertility treatment. And I'm like, child, I'm still paying for you, But with this one, I didn't understand what was it that He wanted me to get from this. Why are you giving me a child? I'm 42 years old. My husband is 49. We have grandchildren. This is their uncle. Like, I don't understand what you wanted me to get from this guy. Like, I need to understand it. And He still didn't quite show me, even though He's the cutest little cuddly thing ever. But He still hasn't quite gave me the answer quite yet. And I asked the question quite a bit. So no, I never blamed God. I never cursed God. I never said, God, I don't want this once I had them. Or, once I never said that, I don't want, I just didn't understand it. And so for me, I was saying, God, can you show me some understanding? And for my oldest one, the first one I lost, He showed me the understanding very quickly. My mom had a major stroke when I was pregnant with my living daughter. She had a stroke in July 14th of that year. I had my daughter in October. Had I had that first baby, the baby would have been born in May. There would have been no way in my right mind I could have took care of an infant/newborn along with a mother who was wheelchair bound, still doesn't have any movement on her right side. So He showed me pretty quickly, like, you wouldn't have been able to handle that. Because I was even 9 months pregnant, I was the major caretaker for my mother. So I feel like He showed me so quickly on that one. I'm still waiting, God. You can show me now on this one. So that was my reason. No, I never blamed God. Never was angry about it. I just didn't understand it. Sad, but never angry.
And I think I can kind of agree and piggyback off of that. I don't come to curse or be angry with God easily. Just for me, I really can't allow my mind to even take me there because He's been so good and He's done so much. And so even though it's a situation that is horrific, I can't bring myself to just so easily just, oh, how dare you? I take that very, very carefully.
Right.
Question, unsure, I don't understand. What have I done? Why is this happening to me? Absolutely. still don't necessarily have an answer for why Assad was born premature and why he was doing well and then passed away and why I had a miscarriage. Those things still don't really have an understanding to them. I don't think he's given me, unless I'm just missing it. He hasn't given me an answer, but to be angry with him or to curse him or anything like that, no. I will say though, and of course, because Shamir has been here for every journey, I remember always telling her, like, I had a dream about this. I had a dream about that before these things happened. For example, before I went into labor with Assad, one night I was up late at night, the whole house was asleep, my son was asleep, my husband was asleep, and I was up Googling what happens if a baby is born at 22 weeks gestation. I cannot tell you why I was looking that up. Because for what reason would I be doing that? I can't tell you why. And then a week later, at exactly 23 weeks and 0 days, I went into labor with him. With Asia, I had a dream. I saw her in a vision in my sleep. She was inside of a clear gestational sac, a little bubble. I could see her eye color, which was like a little grayish. I could see she had a little hair on her head, but she was still very much, a little tadpole looking. And I told my husband, I said, why did I have a dream? I just thought, like, that was weird. And then she came out, except for it was red because, blood and stuff. But so while I feel like there was no understanding per se or no explanation, it was like I was warned. I almost, in a way, I didn't want to see it that way, but that's what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So even in that, I'm like, he's merciful.
He is.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
So Monique, how do you feel like the loss of your mom? Do you question, like, why did you take my mom away?
I'm still trying to figure it
You're
out.
still trying to
No, like seriously. And I'm sitting here just like, God, give me the words to say. So, like I said, I'm still trying to figure things out, but I'm going with the flow because God is really the ruler of all things. He is. So I wasn't going to talk about it because I'm still healing from it, and this does go back to, the part about therapy. Therapy is an ugly thing, but it helps you, and I'm currently in it. And right now we are touching on some really challenging things right now. Right now I'm going through childhood therapy, meaning that I'm talking to the child in me, especially around those ages where some things have happened. And I'm also talking to my mother that passed. I'm also talking to the baby that I lost. And so all at the same time. I wasn't going to talk about, the baby that I did lose because it was a different experience. For me, I'm not going to go into detail because, like I said, I'm still healing. I'm still trying to figure out, okay, how can I talk about it and not just, run away from the camera. But, it's a process. Grief is a weird thing.
It is.
It's an awkward thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a roller coaster. And it's like, you're up here, you're just like, okay, I can talk about it with you all. Next thing I know, I'm just like, oh gosh, I just want to be by myself and just eat a sandwich and just be away from the world. Really. And so, yeah, it's a process. I'm navigating my way through it. Sometimes it's like I'm driving a car with no wheel, but God got that wheel though. And so yeah, it's
So you brought up
strange.
grief. So I want to ask the question: how does grief look for you as individuals?
I'll answer
Go
that
ahead.
because I'm going through it.
Okay. How does it look?
I wasn't given the chance to grieve my mom, and some people look at that strange because they're just like, you never met her. And so grief is getting up every day, getting you and a baby ready, going to work smiling, going to church, serving others and doing things, whatever, and then coming home and waiting for the day to be over. That's what it is. That's what it is. Grief is just strange. That's also what depression looks like. That's also what anxiety looks like, And so it's like, one day you're just like, oh yeah, you're helping others, but then the next day you're just like, I don't even want to be doing this. I can't brush my teeth yet.
Right.
And so, it's a up and down kind
How
of
does
thing.
grief look to you all?
I wanted to touch on what Mo said about you can't, or how do you grieve somebody that you didn't really know? And even though it's a sidebar away from my kids, I have a brother who is coming up in September to be 34 years old, who I never met. And he passed away when I was 5. And so I remember hearing a lot when I was younger, like, because it would be, oh, my brother. I mean, I would really cry, and I would think about him and look at his pictures. And my sister had this video made with pictures of him, and I would watch it and just be a wreck. And everybody's like, how can you even grieve him? You didn't even know him. But that was my brother. So you're not gonna tell me that I cannot grieve him. And so I think at a young age, that was my first experience with grief. And so for me, like Mo said, it's like you're fine, and then you're not. I'm good with the world. I can help others today. I can go beyond myself. And tomorrow I can't. I don't want to talk to you. Don't call me. I can't stand, like, now in my current grief. Why is my phone going off? Like, why are you even talking to me? Like, why is my phone ringing? Why are you texting me? I get annoyed. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb so fast because I don't want to. I don't want to do the outside world. I take my son to school. I come back home. I talk on the phone with my husband probably almost all day while he's away at work. But anybody else, I don't mean it in like a mean or harmful way, because when I can, I'll be here for you. When I can, we'll talk. But some days it's like I literally don't want to hear from anybody, and I'm just in my own little bubble.
So you made a statement about your brother, and you said, people said, well, why are you acting like that? Because you never met him. Which brings me to my next question. How do you all deal with insensitive people? Now I'm going to say this, I'm not insensitive, because I know when I first thought of this topic, thought of the people that I wanted to sit and talk with you all are represented here today. And I said, I don't want to appear or sound insensitive because I didn't go through it. But some people can say some really mean, insensitive, thoughtless things to people who are grieving because they don't, number one, they don't understand grief. Number two, they may not understand loss. So how do you deal with the insensitivity of others? Now, it may not be intentional. They may say something that is off the wall, and they have no clue that it made you feel a certain way. How do you deal with that? How do you bypass that? How do you? I'm sorry, no problem. How do you handle that?
You have to extend a lot of grace towards those people. The same grace that you're, giving, because we may be in those kind of shoes. We may say something like, "Oh, Lord, I shouldn't have said that." When it comes back to us or when it happens to us, you have to say, this person does not know. It has nothing to do with them. They were not there. I'm sorry. But at the same time, it's like once that comment is made and you're processing the thing and you by yourself, you're just like, oh man, I didn't like the way that made me feel. Confrontation may have to be, a thing like, listen, I don't like that. Let's not let that happen again because A, B, and C happened.
Right.
Maybe that could be a ministry moment, or it could be a testimony like, listen, this is what happened to me. The Lord brought me over. Thank you, Jesus. But also, don't play me like that. Don't talk to me like that, okay? Because we're not going to have no disrespect, in this kind of situation, because this is what I'm going through. And I know that you may not want the same thing to happen to you. So you have to extend grace, though. People don't know.
We thank God.
Sometimes. Thank you, Jesus.
Grace have saved a
great
of people.
And us too.
As I'm quiet on the subject.
But like I was gonna say, grace is a big deal, and we all need it, and the Lord gives it to us. However, I myself have had.
It's hard.
I've had to cut some people off because right after my losses, why are you talking to me about? I wouldn't even have an abortion, or I can't, I don't want to have no kids, and I can't say it. Just little comments about children, or I know that you're pregnant, but you drinking, smoking, and everything else. You're triggering me because you so easily are able to pop these babies out, and you just out here don't even care. You like you didn't forgot that I've been through what I've been through, and you're close enough to me to know. So I don't think it's more so that you feel how you feel, it's the way you bring it to me. Like, you can feel how you feel, you can do what you do, but don't do it in front of me, or I don't want to see you doing it, or I don't want to hear about you. Because I remember for a long time, anybody who was discussing having an abortion, things like that, which, you know, that's between you and God, that ain't my business. But I don't want to hear about it. I do not, it used to trigger me so bad because you don't even care. And you're talking to me about this, like, what am I supposed to say to you?
Okay.
What am I supposed to do with that? And so that's where the grace
They
will
were
come
looking for
in.
you to support them.
Like, and baby, because what you want me to say? I'm trying to figure out why my body is doing what it's doing to me, why it's betraying me, and you talk about want to get rid of something. And so that's where the grace comes in, that, you know what, your situation is different, your life is different, you're in a different place than I am, you need to make the best decision for you. So it's not that it was done on purpose, because half the time they don't even realize that they may have offended you, but it's, okay, let me pull that thing back in, because I might go off on you, and then you're looking at me like, why is she so upset? And it's because of this long history, you know what I'm saying?
Shamir, did you want to, or did you want me to pass you?
I'm okay. I think for me, it's hard because we are a blended family, and my husband has his oldest son, which is a junior, and our oldest daughter, Brianna. And then we had our one together. And I remember for a while, after I had my daughter, I wanted another one pretty close to her because of the fact, even though she had siblings, I had this thing in my mind that I'm not going to live to see her be an adult. And I'm constantly saying, I need you to learn these things and learn this because mom's not going to always be here. And I say it so frequently, in my head, I'm going to leave my kid. And I'm always terrified that she's not going to have, even though she has a brother and sister, and they're amazing with her. They love her dearly. I'm not taking that from her. I'm always afraid when they're at their mom's house for holidays or whatnot, and then my daughter's left with no family. So I remember wanting another one so that she could have someone at all times. And comments were always being made as, you don't need any more. You had such a hard pregnancy with her. You lost one before her. And why would you need, y'all be satisfied? You and your husband have one together, and he's got a son already. And I always felt like it was insensitive, the fact, yes, I understand what you're saying. Yes, we had a hard pregnancy. But if I'm willing to go through this hard pregnancy and I have a husband who's supporting me in this hard pregnancy, let me live.
That's my business.
And so for me, a little older now, a tad bit wiser, not much, I understand that sometimes people don't understand some of the things that they say or how it can be harmful or how it can almost be hurtful, that you have so much opinions about my life.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not the one carrying the child, you know, you're not the one that has to pay for any of this stuff, the appointments or anything. Why do you have such an opinion on my life? And it wasn't just one person, it was quite a few people, and mostly family and that. And so I couldn't understand how my family, instead of being supportive, wouldn't just, you know, stop questioning me and question me out loud. You know, like, you might get thinking, I understand you thinking it, like, why does this child want to torture herself like that? Totally get it, because I think about that with my older kids sometimes. Like, what is she doing? But I don't say it. You know, I know a fine line, well, I think I know a fine line as to what my kids can and can't hear from me.
Yeah.
And so I just pretty much I ignore it. That's how I deal with it. I ignore it. Well, I ignore it on the surface. Internally, I don't ignore it. Actually, it festers and it makes me angry.
Yes.
So I ignore it on the surface. And sometimes I'll tell my husband, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I feel like he understands, and sometimes I don't. And the times that he don't understand make me more mad with him, so just don't even say anything. So I think I just deal with it by pretending that it didn't happen.
So we just went through Mother's Day. Mother's Day was last month. Everybody was celebrating their mothers, mothers that are living, mothers that have passed, people that are like a mother to them. So how do you handle Mother's Day?
Again, it's a process. Mother's Day for me is rough. It's always been rough. My biological mom, her birthday sometimes falls on Mother's Day. And I'm like, good Lord, that's a double load. God knows really how to do some things. But you know, in the end, it's like, Shamir too. It's like in the end, he's like, I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, maybe you did this for a reason. Also lost that baby around that time as well. And so sometimes you just have to sit in it and just let it happen. Sometimes, it's kind of hard because my mom, my adopted mom, her birthday falls around the same weekend and she wants to be acknowledged. And I'm just like, I don't care about that right now. When I'm thinking about all this stuff, I'm trying to process or whatever. So grieving and celebrating in the same weekend, the same month, what's happening? Huh? What am I supposed to do? And so, it's like I have to kind of pray and process before and prepare myself like, okay, this is about to happen. Mother's Day is coming up. How am I going to, take on things? How am I going to respond to people when they're finally telling me, Happy Mother's Day, when I didn't think I was going to hear it ever, And so, you just have to keep processing, keep thinking, keep healing, just keep going through it and trusting God. Just say, you know what, you got this wheel, like I talked about a few minutes ago, you got this wheel, let me sit in the passenger seat and just let it go. Let it go. It's your situation to deal with, it's not mine no more, because I tried to handle it. I tried to say, okay, I'm going to let my Mother's Day go like this, A, B, and C, when it was messed up. When I would end up, going crazy on somebody or snapping or something like that. But now that I'm settling in it, wow, this is a moment for me. Now that I'm settling in it, I'm good now. I'm good. And I can actually, relate to others and, help other moms and stuff like that. So let it go.
And it was your first Mother's Day.
It was. You're doing an awesome
you.
job. Mother's Day, you want to touch on Mother's Day?
Yes, I absolutely do, because I have never had an easy Mother's Day. My entire life, especially my childhood. My dad remarried after he and my mother divorced in 99, and I was born in 95, so I was 4. And I knew her, come to find out, well before they even got married. So my entire life when it came to Mother's Day was always one against the other. Who do you celebrate? Who do you give the love to? Who do you make the Facebook post about? Who do you get the card for? And it was always like, I'm in the middle of everything and I didn't ask for any of this. So why do I have to pick and choose? And for a long time, which my mom, because you're gonna watch this. You know how our relationship was, okay? I didn't rock with my mom. We had a very, very, very trying childhood. It was rough. The thing was hard. And so for a long time, I kind of pushed her to the back of my mind. I moved to Virginia when I was 15, and I was with my family. I was with my dad and my stepmom and her family, and that's who mattered to me. And so for a long time, the Facebook posts and the beautiful lovey-dovey cards and the deep sentimental sayings were all to my stepmom. And I neglected my biological mother in that area, and people would question me all the time, well, you don't know your mom did this for you, and I'm like, but you don't know what I went through with her. And now that I'm have a kid and have had other children and I'm the mom, I have a little bit more grace for my mother. And so Mother's Day, it stopped being so hard because I can acknowledge the both of you. I can love the both of you. I can respect the both of you. And one thing about it, when I had Carter, my firstborn, when I called Mama and I said I'm in labor and we about to go to the hospital, I had a emergency section, all that good stuff, and I look up, drugged and all. My mom called me, what room are you in? Excuse me? Because when did you even? She walking through the room. Mom, where did you come from? Took a plane from Minnesota while I was on the operating table, and she was right there. When I needed her, she was right there. And ever since I have had my firstborn son, she has been right there. And so that helped fix my Mother's Day for me concerning her. You know what I'm saying? So Mother's Day was always kind of hard, but now being a mother, it definitely has kind of changed the scope of the way I see mothers, and even in their flaws and all. I love you,
Shamir, did you want to touch on that, or you want me to move on?
before you move on.
Okay, no problem.
As she was talking, I was thinking, and it's like this past Mother's Day. Yes, was my first one. It was easy. It came easy because here I am holding. Ooh,
You're blessed.
Yes.
the evidence of God's
My
grace
God.
in my arms.
And I can agree with that for this
What?
Monday for sure.
For you to right,
Yes.
that's
I'm
crazy.
definitely, and I guess I shouldn't have moved on, but I guess for me as a mother,
It's different.
it was different this year. My daughter, who
Man.
is 10 and now understands, I mean, she's my soldier, my ride or die. She doesn't allow anybody to say anything about her mama.
Girl.
She is on me. I'm surprised she's not right here right now. She could be. So this year she made a point with my birthday and Mother's Day that she wanted me to have something every day up until my birthday, and then my birthday was that Thursday and Mother's Day was that Sunday. So she was full force for over a week, and she took the time to write everything I was to her, and to see that from her eyes as a 10-year-old. Whereas I don't ever felt like my 10-year-old or even my 42-year-old eyes
No.
saw that with my mother.
No.
Made me realize that I'm doing something right. It could be a battle. It was a challenging year, but she never questions, does her mom love her?
For
She
sure.
never questions, is her mom going to always be there to support her? And I can't always say that I didn't have those questions. So for me as a mother now, when I think I'm not getting it right, God will show us little reminders that you are right.
Yep.
And even now in this, coming out this fourth trimester of having been, I could be seriously holding him and crying. He'll look at me like, "What's wrong with you?" And then he'll just show me all his gums. Like, you don't see all this goodness right here?
Yes.
Like, suck these tears up, you
Yeah.
big crybaby. I'm the one that's supposed to cry.
Yeah.
So God has a way of giving you a little reminder, and those humans that He's gifted me with, because they are gifts, you know.
Absolutely.
He gave them to me, and I'm so fortunate. Even when the understanding part, you don't understand it. And as she said, she's given her mom more grace now as to understanding things. For me, I have more questions now. So because of how these humans impact me, how could we not do things a certain way?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I now question why she did certain things the way she did, but I could always say she was there. So
Yeah.
So with the loss, how did you all, or how do you memorialize the loss of your child? Like, I think what I'm saying is, when you, like your memory,
How do you remember?
celebrate the memory? Do you
Yeah.
remember? Do you push it in the back of your head? What does memorializing look like for you and your loss?
I'll take this one first. Only because Shamir, I'm gonna show you his white. So last year, on the anniversary of Assad's first birthday, I'm about to cry. Gosh.
It's a safe space.
I didn't know what we were thank you. I didn't know what we were gonna do, and I was just kind of thinking about it because it's his first birthday and now he's coming up on 2. This one right here texts my phone talking about I was thinking about having a small get together at our house in remembrance of Assad's birthday, and I just
She's
was
great.
like,
birthday cake.
bruh, like, why, like, that's not even your thing to be thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do that. That's the last thing. She's the most selfless person I know, I promise you. And it was just like, at your house, providing the food, had a cake made, happy first birthday, Assad. I mean, it was, allowed me to invite others that I wanted to invite to her house. And it was everything I needed it to be, so that I couldn't be so sad, and I wouldn't remember him in a painful way. And she always calls him her James, because James was his middle name, and that's her maiden name, and so that they had that connection. And so it just felt so right when she did that, and it meant everything to me. So now coming up on his birthday again, I don't feel so sad. I don't feel so painful about it. I'm actually looking forward to remembering the little Spitfire from the NICU who stressed everybody out all the time. And I have to give that thanks to her, because she and my brother who did the barbecuing and, the grilling. But like I said, it was something so selfless that I didn't even realize that I needed, because I didn't know what we were gonna do. I was just gonna let the day go by, pour some out for my damn, something like that. But she made it a full blown thing, and it was beautiful. It was
So let's temperature check. Are you guys okay?
Yeah.
And then I found out 2 weeks later I was
That she
pregnant.
was pregnant.
Right.
I was like, it was this birthday party.
That's what did it. That's what did
I know what
it.
it was to have a son.
Pregnant. He did it for you.
You're thinking
2 weeks
about
later, I
somebody
found out I was
else, and you got your blessing.
You did.
2 weeks later I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
I think how I memorialize, I do things like this. Like doing this whole process, I had to learn that there's community out there, to help you process through things, And so y'all know I don't do this.
Right.
This is huge for me.
Huge.
But
This is
once this all is over and I'm on the way home, I'm gonna feel much better. I already feel better,
Yeah.
And so it's like talking about it, sharing it with other people. That's what's helping. And I can finally say, Mom, this is for you.
Aw.
Little baby, this is for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm able to share your story with others and how it has helped me.
And you have a very sympathetic heart that I don't think
Absolutely.
you realize that you have when it comes to
Wow.
situations.
Absolutely.
Because we didn't even really know each other, but you were pregnant. And I remember coming to you, I was 5 weeks pregnant with Finn. 5 weeks. And I didn't know her like that, but the Lord told me, go tell her. And I was like, I don't really know her like that.
And she
everybody
told me
knows I'm
not
a
to make
private
any
person.
emotion. I'm like,
And,
what do you mean?
and I said, I'm 5 weeks pregnant and I'm scared and I don't want to lose. And I don't remember what she did afterwards because she was shouting, crying, doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And even when I had lost the other one, I think I had just happened to mention, I was like, congratulations, I was so excited for you. And she was looking at me like, I don't know you, why are you so excited? And I was just so excited because I get excited about women being pregnant in general. Like, both of my babies were born after I helped friends, after I lost babies, through both of these girlfriends' baby showers. My last one, it was 9 days after my DNC, I was throwing somebody a baby shower. And my husband's like, no, I don't think you should do it. You're not ready. I'm like, I can celebrate others. God gives us a reason, just because I didn't birth one, I can still be supportive and excited for someone else's blessing. And I've always been like that.
That's right.
So my point in that is you, even though you feel like you sometimes don't know how to handle situations or you get awkward in a situation, when it comes time for that go light to come on, you lose the awkwardness. And I remember that, and that'll always be something I'm very grateful for, because at 5 weeks I came and I told you, I'm pregnant, I'm scared, I can't lose again. And you said you won't. And here we are, so my point is that you think you're awkward, you think that you can't have those conversations, but you absolutely can.
And you are having it, and you had. You had all of
You did not lose.
All of you all had the conversation. And I just want to actually thank you again, because I thank you all 1,000 times, because I really didn't think that you all were going to say yes to me.
But just
why? And I was just about to say, why not say yes? Because if I say no, I went through this for nothing.
You're right.
I could not live with myself and the pain that comes along with losing, and then just keep it bottled in. I don't want to talk about it. No. I have to release this. We know that our lives are nothing but God living through us every day. So if He brought me to it, He'll bring me through it, and I'm going to share.
Sister.
Especially being so young,
Yes.
having a hard time carrying babies full term. I mean, we're talking early 20s. There's no reason it should be so hard, but I know if it's happening to me, it's a community of women this is happening to, and even at our young age, this happens, but you will be all right.
And just like the statistic that you gave earlier,
Yes.
the 700 and some people, out of those 700 and some people, they probably felt like it was too taboo to talk about.
Yep.
And that's only what was recorded.
And they don't always share
and
it.
that's just
They don't
wasn't
want to share
recorded.
it.
That
Because
wasn't
for
recorded.
me, even when I had the DNC last year, they asked me, how many times have you been pregnant?
Yep.
And
Well, I
for
have
me in my
one
mind,
child.
originally my husband responded before I could. He's like, "Well, she's been pregnant." I said, "No, this is my third pregnancy."
Yep.
But I only have one child that I could
Right.
show for it. But it was my
That's
third
hard.
pregnancy.
It's so hard saying that.
And so when I said that, and I mean, literally, they had me because I had a DNC.
Yeah.
I had to fill out a death certificate.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe I'm
That
filling
is
out a death
painful.
certificate
Yeah.
for something that I never saw. And so it has to be talked about because people are not aware. And I've had more people reach out to me not knowing what they're about to have. I have to have a DNC. I don't know what's going to happen. And when I'm like, okay, when you have this DNC, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to do. And so that you can help people. This is how much pain you might have. This is what's going to happen maybe afterwards. This is how long you're probably going to feel down. So if you can be an advocate for someone where they can come to you and ask these questions and not feel like you're going to tense up on them, you don't want to share.
Right.
Because I'm going to share. If it's going to help you, I'm going to share. That comes to babies, comes to my marriage. You know, we'll talk about stuff that we wouldn't tell the world in general, but if it's going to help you and help you be able to get through a situation, absolutely, let's discuss it.
And I really thank each and every one of you. I have one more question. We're going to wrap it up, okay? One more question. And this is about God, the most important entity in our lives. How is God restoring you? And I put restoring because he's a restorer. And he's going to restore you every single day because that's what he is. So how is he restoring you? You can say it in a sentence or two. How is God restoring you?
That's such a
So broad.
It's
You
broad.
just said a sentence or two.
I'm trying to find
when
the
I can
words
talk
to
forever.
put that thing.
So put it in a nice bowl.
Oh.
Put it in a present and wrap it
Well,
up really quick.
I'll really quickly. I never responded how my husband responded into the situations, and I believe with the life of Ben in general, God has shown us how magnificent and amazing He is, and that what we think sometimes is painful, He will absolutely show you the beauty in the ashes. And so for
Yes.
me, I see beauty in the ashes, and I have a husband who sees the beauty in the ashes, and we're grateful. So if anything, the restoration became beautiful. So you had to go through the low to get to the high.
My God.
It was beautiful.
God has literally taken our physical bodies that has gone through pain and loss and all the ugly stuff, and He has birthed out something so beautiful. And literally, healing is the children's bread. Okay? Like,
Yes.
seriously, healing is the children's bread. So it's like He's restoring us by healing us through our kids.
Yes,
He is.
Mhm.
Like, here you go. This is the grace that I have extended towards you, even though you know that you have gone through loss, you deal with PCOS, you deal with, you know, all these other kind of medical things, but He's still able to say, you know, I'm still able to bring out something beautiful, even though you think that it wasn't.
Beautiful.
That's the kind of God we serve, huh?
Don't you get started in here.
Okay.
Because I
Thank
was
you,
getting
Lord.
ready to say,
Thank you.
all my life, you have been faithful.
Literally.
Yes,
All
he
my
has.
life,
Literally.
you have been so
So good.
Come on with a thank
Come
you,
on.
Jesus.
good.
Come on.
Thank you, Jesus.
Come on.
Because with every breath that I am able, I'm going
Thank
to
you,
sing
Lord.
of the goodness of God.
Goodness, he's
Everything that I
Thank you, Lord.
thought we lost, thank you,
good.
Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
We recovered all.
We gained. That's the
Every
thing.
time
Right.
we recovered, every
gained.
time I felt like we took a L, He turned that thing right around and was like, but let me bless you.
Come on.
So when we look at these miracle babies that we have had
Come on.
and will have, it's literally like you said, God did it right through those babies. You can look into that baby's eyes and go, God, I just thank you. For my baby, for my firstborn Carter, who has an IEP and thinks differently and his
All right.
brain operates differently.
all right.
If I could pick him from heaven myself, I would pick him all over again. Because there's something about that little boy that God is healing my inner childhood through him.
Yes.
So I all I can say is I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life, God, you
That's it.
time and time again.
Over and over and over again. And on that note, in closing, I'm going to
Woo!
repeat
Thank
Gary
you,
Rowe,
Jesus.
the author of the book called Shattered,
My
Surviving the Loss of a Child. He quotes, "The loss of a child strips you to the core. And there are many times that you will have to remind yourself to breathe." And we thank God for breathing life into us.
Thank you, Jesus.
Breathe. You can survive. You will survive. You are surviving. I thank each and every one of you
Thank you
for
having
sitting
us.
and conversing with me on today and telling your story. God bless you all.
Woo! Right.